Hi and welcome back. We are going to be discussing 12-1150 and we're working our way up to the 12-2600 section. Alright, rigid types EB1 and DB2 ES2 PVC conduit. We're not going to talk too much about this. However, what I do want to talk about is this item called DB2. Okay, do you know what DB2 is? It actually stands for direct burial. So it is a raceway, as you can see, under the restriction on use. DB2 conduit and fittings shall not be used above ground except as permitted by Rule 12-1150. Now you may say, I don't use this stuff. Well, in actual fact, we actually do use a lot of it. DB2 is used, for example, when the utility is asking you to install conduit from their pad mount transformer into an apartment building, or you're installing DB2 conduit underground as a raceway for a dwelling unit, and then that last little portion coming up out of the ground has to be in a rigid PVC conduit. So DB stands for direct burial, and it's not intended to come out of the ground. It's a thin wall conduit, much like EMT in comparison to threaded rigid metal conduit. So there's not much really to talk about. You can read the rest of the rules. Be careful. The maximum number of conductors, you go back to 12.9.10. They talk about split straight conduits. They do actually make what I was referring to in the prior, is that 10 minutes?
No battery.
They talk about the split straight conduit. There is actually an adapter, and the split straight conduits work with this as well. Don't forget, in 12-11-16, install a bonding conductor with this, this raceway. So we're not going to talk about 1200. Liquid tight in 12-1300 on page 148, we are going to discuss briefly. Something to keep in mind. The use of liquid tight flexible metal and non-metallic conduit. So liquid tight flexible metal conduit shall be permitted where a flexible connection is required in dry, damp, or wet location, or were permitted by other sections of this code. Runs of not more than 1.5 meters or 5 feet of 12 trade size liquid tight flexible conduit shall be permitted for the connection of equipment. And then there are, in sub-rule 3, the uses. The liquid tight flexible conduit shall not be used in these locations. So where it's subject to mechanical damage, exposed to gasoline or similar light petroleum solvents, under conditions such as temperature will exceed 60 degrees C, low temperatures, and then you can read the rest. However, another important rule is 12-13-04, and this is a little trick, and you might want to highlight this rule. So the maximum number of insulated conductors and bare conductors in liquid tight flexible conduit shall be in accordance with 12.9.10. So once again, it bounces you back to the conduit section. For the purpose of sub-rule 1, the cross-sectional area of trade size 12 shall be considered as 118 millimeters squared. All right. Now, I know they like to trick everyone on this. So when they say 118 millimeters squared, and then all of a sudden now they're saying, okay, figure out how many conductors you can install in this raceway. And everyone goes to table 10 or 10D and tries to determine conduit fill. But they base it on 118 millimeters squared. What did we learn when we were dealing with table, 8? That you can only load this up to 40%?